is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's it, 46 watt. That's faster than the factory McLaren driver. And he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
We search for the biggest, brightest, and rising racing talent in esports and simulation racing. The McLaren Shadow Project is the next phase in McLaren's esports strategy, following the success of the World's Fastest Gamer competition held just 12 months ago. We found the world's fastest gamer in Rudy Van Buren, but who will take the reins next in this tough tussle for glory? As we welcome you to the McLaren Shadow GT3 portion of the series on iRacing. We're at Brands Hatch, located in Kent, England, just an hour's drive from London, which hosts the first round of the GT3 qualifying series, as we mentioned, as all coverage today is on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network around the 3-kilometer, 2.4-mile layout of Brands Hatch, clockwise in nature with 9 turns of the long layout, 3 of those to the left, the other 6 to the right. The track dips, as we know, through the exhilarating Paddock Hill bend for turn 1, and then constantly undulates through the hills and forests. Every corner here today is a challenge, much to the liking of the drivers out there. 22 laps of racing action to challenge them on course to a very challenging McLaren Shadow Project competition. Elevation change up to 30 meters and partly cloudy skies up ahead. Good afternoon, everybody. Jonathan Simon on hand in the commentary booth alongside Neil Heatley today, Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production, and Neil, Brands Hatch, what a venue to host round 1 for the GT3 series. Quite fitting for these cars, but very, very tough challenge for this talent today.
Yes, it's an incredibly tough circuit. As you said, 0.43 miles. And almost all of the corners are incredibly fast. Qualifying is going to be very important here today because you've only really got one main overtaking zone, to me at least, and that is Druid's hairpin at the bottom of the hill just after Paddock Hill. Yes, the GP loop on the back end of the circuit, all right-handers and all incredibly fast. And with Brands Hatch being quite a narrow circuit, that means there's no room for error.
It certainly is, and look at the qualifying times at the left-hand side of the screen. We're currently watching Axel Paul in the 4th position, but Marcus Jensen, the young man, has been ever quick. He turns 18 in just a month's time, Neil, but he's been so quick in the McLaren MP4-30, and now we switch to this McLaren MP4-12C, a different challenge for these drivers, and you're someone who's had a lot of experience in terms of GT cars, and it is a completely different beast to open wheels.
Oh yeah, they are so different. Open wheelers, incredibly reliant on downforce, incredibly reliant on on the downforce as soon as you close up to the car in front. It's going to be very difficult to pass. But in terms of GT3s, far heavier, far slower, I should say, on the steering rack. Something completely different. To be good in both Formula cars and in GT3s, you must be quite a skilled driver.
Yeah, here's Marcus Jensen right now on screen, and he's coming through the final corner. He's already set some blistering qualifying times, as we know. Comes across the line this time around, and he seems to be beginning a lap here. Let's have a look at him now through Paddock Hill Bend, the lovely world's iconic corner, then through Druids. And this is the corner Neil was talking about, the best overtaking spot we'll see there today. Now riding on board with the Dane through Graham Hill Bend. And look at these next few corners now coming up. We've got Surtees and then the long straight, Neil, where you really need a good run out of this left-hander right now to maximize the track limits.
Yes, you need that good run all the way up the hill, which means getting that exit is so important to the longest straight on the track. Of course, Hawthorne's at the very end. You've got to be careful because it is so easy to get that one wrong.
Yeah, through the middle part of the lap now, Jensen. This looks super smooth. Almost looks too boring out there. And you know when that's the case, it must be a good lap for sure. Now through Sheen Curve, and now through the left-hander of Sterling's. Oh, has a slight moment through Sterling's. Looks like time's ticking down though, and that will be the end. He will not actually make it to the finish line in time. Doesn't phase Marcus Jensen though. He will start from first for the race coming up. But let's have a look at the grid now. Pole position goes to Marcus Jensen. He'll be alongside Jesper Dralica in the second position. Ross Yost and Axel Paul hold that second row after some good qualifying times from them. And then John Eckert and Greg Waters will head the third row of the grid. They were the last two drivers to set a lap time here today. No lap time set for your fourth row of Joseph Ringrose and Frederic Palver behind. Rest of the grid on screen. Maynard Grift, Sabol Sprem, and Eldon Crouchaw. The challenges on that short run down to Paddock Hill Bend, Neil, are it's very tight up until there, but the real overtaking spot comes at Druids Corner. It's going to be so tight heading into that first corner.
Yes, it's going to be very tight heading into that first corner, as you say. But of course, you've got to navigate Paddock Hill Bend beforehand. That right-hander is quite fast. It's deceptively slow, actually, but it dives down the hill. It really is a test of the suspension. It's a test of your handling. It's a test of your setup. That's really what Brands Hatch is all about.
So Marcus Jensen, who will start from pole. It's going to be a rolling start, of course, as we know as well. Just over 200 meters from pole position to turn number one here at Brands Hatch. That is Paddock Hill Bend. And just waiting for all the cars to join, and we will begin our formation lap. But Marcus Jensen, he's driving for Burst Esport, Neil. He's representing them, and Burst Esport are one of those new esports team out there who have joined sim racing, trying to make a name for themselves. It's good to see sim racing rising in terms of marketability over the years.
Yes, and that really has been something that we've seen over the past, really, especially 3 or 4 years or so, is how popular sim racing and indeed esports in general is getting. And you can see major manufacturers such as McLaren getting involved in this now. It really goes to show how far it's came.
Certainly is. So formation lap begins. There's the iRacing pace car taking the field away. Only an 11-car field out there today, but we always know whenever we have these races, Neil, this is what, you know, we get concerned. Oh, there's not a big field out there, and you know, you're someone who's commented on many endurance championships out there as well, as you said, but it doesn't have to be the quantity out there in the field. It's the quality. Everybody says that, and I feel like we're going to get that today. I'm looking forward to this race. Marcus Jensen, great talent, but the qualifying times aren't that far off as well. They're pretty tight.
Yep, they are pretty tight, and indeed, it doesn't matter if you've got that small grid. If everyone is so close, the racing can be fantastic. So we're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see what comes with this race today as they come up towards the hill, towards that incredibly fast Hawthorns.
Yeah, so just have to make sure these drivers are ready to go for the race. So, as we know, the winner of the McLaren Shadow Project Championship, they will get a seat in McLaren's brand new F1 esports team. They'll join their esports development program, and they'll also join fellow iRacers Bono Haas, Enzo Benito, and Ollie Pakala, all three representatives of Team Redline. So they'll head to a qualifier, the winner of this series, which will be held in January at the McLaren headquarters in Woking. Great opportunity, Neil, for the winner of this series, and it looks like Marcus Jensen may already have one hand on that trophy for iRacing.
Whoa, you say that? That's far too soon to say anything like that. That's far too soon. But as you know, anything can happen in motor racing. It normally does.
Well, we'll see. Marcus Jensen does have a good points advantage ahead of Mike Partington from that MP4-30 stage. Mike not here today, but here they go to the final corner. And then ready to pounce for 22 laps of racing action. Marcus floors it. We go green for 22 laps of racing.
Indeed, a very good start there by Marcus as they come down, charging towards Big Hill Bend for the first time. You can see them going all the way down. A couple of wheels getting put into the gravel there, coming to Druids for the first time. This very slow hairpin. And it seems it's as you were, at least for the first 4 or 5.
It seems they're all in formation at the moment as well. John Eckert in 4th position, trying to make a move on Ross Yost. He's a bit too far back right now. Ross Yost, good start from him from the 2nd row, but again, it's all stayed stagnant in your top 4 positions anyway. Axel Paul's dropped a position, of course, as we mentioned. Here's that close battle, though. John Eckert on the run down to Hawthorne Hill. Dabs on the brakes ever so early. Doesn't want to get himself into any trouble, trying to claim some good points. Look at the gap there, 0.4 of a second in the opening laps. Marcus Jensen, though, hasn't broken away as much as we expected here.
Yes, could just be playing it a little bit safe in the first lap. Of course, these tyres will not be completely up to temperature. Neither will the brakes be, so you've got to be very careful on this, on the first couple of laps or so, as they come towards Clark Curve to finish the first lap again. One of these corners where it is so dangerous, because you can see the grass right there on the outside. Get 2 wheels wrong and that could well be your race over, as lap 1 is finished. Marcus Jensen ahead of Jasper Drulika, and the gap there about 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, Drulika is keeping it really honest here between the two. Marcus Jensen, a World Championship driver also, as we see in the MP4-30. He's in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Represents Burst Esport there as well. And he's an up and rising talent in the world of simulation racing and esports. Here he is today leading this event after 1 lap. But Jesper behind in P2, keeping him honest. Oh, we've got a spinner behind Greg Waters already. That's at Graham Hill Bend as well. Let's look at the replay there, Neil. He comes into Graham Hill Bend, and I think, where's he lost it? Oh, he's pushed way too hard on the exit, clipped the grass, and yeah, just there's no drivability there on the grass, no traction at all for him.
Yes, surprisingly, grass less than asphalt. Who knew? But yes, there we go. Just a little touch into the barriers there. Hopefully no major suspension damage for him, as we're having a look at the number 5 car there, just coming through Stirling's towards Clark Curve now, trying to hold off Axel Paul behind the gap there, about 5.5 tenths, extending to 3/4 of a second as they exit the final corner. So a very good run there from Eckert.
Yeah, and Axel Paul now taking a very wide line through Paddock Hill Bend. Now towards the Druids hairpin. Oh, they're all running so wide, or is that just John Eckert? Taking a very late line through there, Neil. Very unique line. Wide entry, late apex, but there's really no exit to make the most out of. That's a corner there at Druids hairpin where you actually want to run deep into the entry and maximize the most out of the apex.
Yes, very interesting because it's one of the wider corners here on the circuit. You can really take multiple lines through there. You can see the many series that go there, the British GT Championship, the DTM, the British Touring Car Championship. They all take different lines through there depending on your car. You can take multiple lines through there. So perhaps he's just found that sort of line is best for him. As we're on board with Axel Paul now coming across the hill towards Dingledale. Very difficult corner because it is completely blind. You just have to hope the apex is there when you turn in because you can't even see it from where you're sat in the car. Coming down towards the final corner, the best part of 220 kilometers an hour. As there's a big slide ahead. Oh, that was very, very lucky for Axel Paul that Eckert didn't come back across the track there. That is him down from 4th to about 8th now.
Yeah, John Eckert just lost it all on his own. You can see on the replay there, ran way too hot, hit the Clark curve. And he's fed out, well, he's come across the line in 7th. It says he's in 8th now, so I believe Sabolis Prem has also gotten his way ahead. They're alongside each other heading into Druid's hairpin. Here's the battle on screen, and Eckert now reclaims that 7th position, just getting those tires back up to ideal temperature, or back down to ideal temperature after that speed. And runs deep there at Graham Hill Bend. There's some grasscrete on the exit there at Graham Hill Bend that allows the drivers to run. It's quite an illusion, isn't it, Neil? Some people think they're driving all over the grass, but they're not.
Yes, it is an illusion, as you say, but even when I'm trying to race around Brands Hatch, I find it very difficult, even psychologically, to go out there because I keep on thinking it's grass. No, you can run out there. It does count as part of the circuit, and you won't get one of those fatal 1Xs for it, the thing that everyone hates. As you can see, here is Pauvert having a look at the inside of Prem, coming up towards Sheen Curve. It'd be very, very brave if they go too wide through here, but Pauvert comes out of the throttle as you have Prem had to go wide into the grass, very, very leery, and that's allowed Pauvert through.
Such a narrow circuit at Brands Hatch, and I thought that was going to end in tears for one of them. It sort of did for Sabolis Prem, but he's only lost a couple of seconds from that. Ironically though, with the pass by Pauvert, he's also lost an immense amount of time to John Eckert, who's been released up ahead and is trying to make a charge back through the field. Back up to 4th position is where he was at the end of lap 1. So Eckert again, like the mistake we saw from him at the final corner. He'll actually
Waters again.
Yeah, so Waters with another spin there, and that's at Clark Curve, where we saw Eckert spin earlier. Let's actually have a look at this. Oh God, he's just not under control of that car at all today.
Yeah, that must have been suspension damage from the first incident down by Graham Hill Bend. As you saw, he lost it in pretty much a straight line, so very, very unusual there. But as you were saying, John Eckert trying to fight his way back up into 4th where he was. His next target is Joseph Ringrose, about 3 seconds up the road.
And Ringrose he's got the art car livery, doesn't he? Joseph Ringrose today. It is quite a stunning livery. As far as I can remember, there he is on screen. Look at that stunning livery. Quite ironic, though, we see it on the McLaren MP4-12C.
Yeah, very, very psychedelic, isn't it? I wish there were more cars painted like that. Well, not more cars, just a couple more, because if you had a full grid of those, I'm not exactly sure what to think. But as you're having a look here at that driver in 6th place, Ringrose, that number 3 car, as he comes down towards Paddock Hill Bend to begin his 6th lap of the race. And onto that grass screen like you have there in the exit of Graham Hill Bend. But again, it's one of these things you've got to be very careful, because at least at Graham Hill Bend there's grass in the exit. In terms of Paddock Hill, it's just gravel. Yeah,
exactly. Different challenges at Brands Hatch. It's one of the most one of the oldest racing circuits out there in the world, isn't it? And it's still good to see a classic venue like this still out in out in racing action. I'm just thinking of Avis. I wish that still existed around there. Is Avis in Germany, I think?
Yes,
that was that final corner, the banking. I think the banking still exists. It's part of a highway now, or a motorway. It would be nice to see if iRacing actually managed to go and laser scan that, try to get it on the surface.
Very, very fun, I'd say that, as we're having a look at the lead battle now. Marcus Jensen, the Scandinavian driver, versus Jesper Dalarica, the Texan. 1.3 seconds separate the two now, so Jensen not really running away quite as much as we thought. As you can see, the gravel being kicked up, the dust being kicked up there on the exit at the bottom of the hill as they come round Druids and towards Graham Hill Bend. Now you can see the differences in lap times along the bottom, and you know, Del Rica is just losing a little bit of time each lap, but not much at all.
Certainly, and he is pushing though a lot more compared to Marcus Jensen. The gap between them in qualifying was 0.7 of a second, and Jensen now, after a quarter of a distance through this event, is only 1.3 seconds ahead. So is Jensen just biding his time, taking things easy, and giving Jesper a chance to push here and maybe make a mistake? Does Jensen have this race under control? Who knows? We'll find out over the next few laps. There's Joseph Ringrose on screen, slowly being caught by John Eckert. John Eckert on that recovery drive after a spin at the final corner at Clark Curve earlier on in the event. He started this race from 5th, up 1 position into 4th, and after that lost an immense amount of time from the spin. Here he is through the middle part of the lap, through Sheen Curve. Oh, sorry, not through Sheen Curve, excuse me. Through Westfield. Now here's Sheen Curve.
Westfield, yeah.
Yeah, and then Sterling's coming up next, and so he's just getting closer and closer every corner through Sterling's. He's lost a lot of time though. He ran deep on the brakes.
Yeah, it's such I keep on forgetting every time I see it and every time I race it how undulating Brands Hatch really is. There isn't flat piece of tarmac anywhere on the track. Even the start-finish line is slightly banked towards the inside, as you can see there. But yes, not a single flat piece of track anywhere here as we're on board with John Eckert now as they come under the bridge towards Druids hairpin for the 8th time this race. Eckert with that wide, slightly unconventional line, making most of the exit as he comes down towards the hill. Now, will he take that grass screen? Yes, it does. He does go run on that AstroTurf. As we now have Ringrose trying his hardest to hold off Eckert, and he seems to be doing a good job for now, but Eckert is slowly gaining.
It's a good battle so far for the 6th position. Eckert now itching closer and closer through Hawthorne Hill. Nice line through there from Eckert. Oh, he's getting closer and closer as the camera pans each time. Riding on board now with the driver of Joseph Ringrose in that number 3.
Yeah, looking towards the back as we come through Sheen Curve now, you can just see how the concertina effect happens, like there through Sterling's, and again, Eckert quite wide through there, so loses some time. But yes, having this rearward view really goes to show the concertina effect between the fast and the slow corners. So as we come through Clark Curve there, it appeared that Eckert had the better line through there as we come across the line to begin these guys at 9th lap.
Yeah, through Paddock Hill Bend. Unique lines from the both of them. Eckert seems to take a tighter line, maybe just to open up the visibility as well. Here they head towards the Druids hairpin. Late apex by John Eckert. No benefit at all. There's just no straight here to take advantage of a late apex. Whoa, twitchy on the brakes is Joseph Ringrose. No stability. Maybe having to make some entry diff adjustments after that. Runs it extremely deep now through Surtees. That's going to allow John Eckert to run for P6 on this long straight heading to Hawthorne's Hill. Still alongside each other. Look how close this battle's getting, and it looks like Ringrose will just edge ahead. Now defend the inside heading to Westfield, and Eckert has to remain in the 7th position this time round. But here Ringrose makes a mistake, and look how close it's going to get between the two now through Sheen Curve. Plenty of respect given between the two. When's this battle going to end? Now through Sterling's for the left-hander. Again, Eckert with a run, and look how close they're getting Neil here on the run to Clark Curve.
Yeah, Eckert is clearly faster at this point, but the thing is, because it's so narrow and the corners come one after another, especially in that GP loop, he can't capitalise on any of those runs as he comes across the start-finish line now. No move to be made into Paddock Hill Bend, because you'd be an absolute madman if you did, coming down the hill. Will Eckert try and make the move, stick into Druid? He's a long way back at the moment, and the answer is no. So I think his best chance, because he appears to be far stronger in the GP loop than Ringrose, so I think his next chance will be coming up into Hawthorne's next time by.
Yeah, but Ringrose heading into corners doesn't seem too stable, so either that's a driving style adjustment he needs to make, or maybe some in-car adjustments. Again, running deep, heading into the left-hander of Surtees allows Eckert a second chance at it. Oh, side by side on the run downhill. Oh, there were millimeters between the both of them. It's going to be a braking battle here. Heading to Hawthorne's. Around the outside is John Eckert. A touch between the both of them. Eckert loses it and contact looms, and eventually both of them now spin. Oh, goodness. Eckert in the wall. Rejoins the racetrack. Make sure he doesn't collide into, I think that's Frederic Palver, who makes his way ahead. Oh, good.
Was it Derlika's crashed? Derlika's crashed, and that's it for him.
Oh, goodness. Jesper Drelika, Marcus Jensen's greatest challenger. Let's have a look at the replay. He actually has crashed, so no technical issue. And this may have happened. The last time we saw him, Neil, was at Paddock Hill Bend. So here he rides on board. Oh, he's already lost it. It looks like it's all going to go wrong here. Runs it onto the gravel. Keeps trying to push. Oh, that's a terminal accident. And he is out of the event from a strong second position. Strong points lost for Jesper Drelika.
Yeah, you can see here, it was slightly squarely at the top, and you could still save it here. The thing was, he didn't quite anticipate the increase in grip for when he went back onto the AstroTurf. He was turning left at that point in time, and that just fired him straight into the barriers. And that's really what did it for him, just an overcorrection when rejoining, because when going from gravel to asphalt, you should really have your steering wheel straight to minimise anything like that, but it was just that massive snap. When he rejoined. When he had that little moment at the top of the hill, it was still fine. Going through the gravel, he was still fine. It was just that rejoin that cost him. As Eckert has got past Frederic Prévert now, so Eckert back up into 6th where he was before, but you can see that rear wing isn't exactly looking happy.
No, it certainly isn't. So much damage to his car. We just had Marcus Jensen cross the start-finish line for 50% of the distance through this event. He leads this race now. It was 1.5 seconds before the accident of Jesper Drelika. Now it's 22 seconds to Ross Yost, who claims the second position. He's followed by Axel Pohl. Both of those two have had pretty progressive races. Maynard Grift in the 4th position. He started 9th, so Maynard has had a brilliant event making his way up through the field. Then they are followed by Joseph Ringrose in the 5th position, just in that battle with John Eckert. Eckert's run wide at turn number 1 here at Paddock Hill Bend, so he will lose the 6th position to Frederic Palver, who claims that spot. Behind them, it's Sabolas Prem. And then we know Jesper Drelika is out of the event. Greg Waters still running out there, but Eldon Kraushaw is also out of this event. So Neil, we expected 11 drivers out there, not too much drama. We've had the complete opposite as we look at John Eckert here at turn 1.
Ooh, lost it very, very early. Does he touch the barriers ever so slightly? I'm not exactly sure. I think he could have got away with not touching anything. Yeah. But it does mean that he has allowed Pauvert back past. As you see it again there. Does he actually touch anything? Yes, just a little ding with the left rear corner. But, it was just a tactical readjustment of his racing line. But the thing is, he's got to get back past Pauvert again. What he's doing at the moment, to me at least it seems, he's driving angry. He's making a lot more mistakes now than he was before. He just needs to calm down a little bit. He knows he's faster than Pauvert. Ringrose is just a few seconds up the road after this to resume that battle that he had before. So no doubt he could get back to the position that he was in, but he just has to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, remember, John, McLaren's watching, and you don't want to make a fool out of yourself. He does have to, we have to mention though, he does have an immense amount of damage. I mean, if it's not visible to you there on screen, I don't know what else is. So this car is an absolute dog to drive right now for John Eckert. And yet he's still catching Frederic Palver in front. Frederic runs extremely deep. John misses the apex of the inside of the corner and starts to touch the curb. That car is not easy to handle with all the damage. The battle's going to continue between the two here.
Yeah, you could see, you talk about that damage, you can see it from just the very strange way that car snapped into Paddock Hill Bend the previous lap, that there must be something slightly wrong with the suspension there, so he's going to be fighting it for the rest of the race, coming through Hawthorne, coming down up to Hawthorne's now, still no room though.
Tight line through the corner, and that's going to hamper his exit. Now through Westfield. Again, another tight line from Eckert. Is going to save it? Whoa, where is he? There he goes. Pops up on screen. He's fine. Wasn't sure where he was going to end up. He's taken, I don't know if he's intentionally taking tight lines. I don't know if he can control the car on turn-in right now, Neil. It seems unpredictable to what he practiced. That is a save of ages, though.
Yeah, that time it appeared that he turned in just a touch early, and perhaps the car bottomed out on the inside curb there of Westfield, because he finally got really squirrely on just past the apex. I'm wondering if he took a little bit too much curb on the inside and he bottomed out the car, or whether it actually just lifted the car to two wheels and he got that big snap of oversteer when he landed.
So there's Palver. Still in front, and pretty sure he might keep this position unless John Eckert can find a way to maneuver his McLaren MP4-12C ahead of him. So as we said, by the way, just reminding you all, if you've joined us, as John Eckert now edges closer to a pass here, the winner of both the MP4-30 and MP4-12C GT3 championship, the points will be combined. It looks like Marcus Jensen's basically got one hand on the trophy for that. He's claimed an immense amount of points from the F1 stage. They will go on to a qualifier at Woking in January 2019 and have a shot to join the McLaren esports team that already includes Bono Haas, 5-time world champion in sim racing, Enzo Benito, and of course Ollie Pakula. Those three are all Team Redline teammates as well. They're all at the Sim Racing Expo, Neil. That's where a lot of sim racers are today, and we'll surely see a little bit more participation next week for this series.
Yes, Sim Racing Expo, approximately 1,000 kilometres south from me at the moment or so, but yes, the Sim Racing Expo this weekend, well, the biggest collection of sim racing enthusiasts, simulations, manufacturers as well. And of course there was the ADAC Digital GT500 on iRacing earlier today. Yeah,
so all the top talent putting their skills to the test there. And it's quite a good event, the Sim Expo, of course, too. Something that hopefully someone will pay for Hugo Luis and myself to fly out to, which will cost an eternity because we live so far out. As John Eckert now heads closer and closer to the driver of Frederick Pavot. We're watching Ross Yost and Axel Paul, who have had a very undramatic race, if that's even a word. And Axel Paul right now is... is he etching closer? I don't know. This is the gap. This gap's remained stagnant between the two all event. It seems like these two are a carbon copy in terms of pace.
You see along your screen at the bottom now the difference in times. You can see that Axel Paul's been consistently quicker by about 0.3 of a second per lap or so over the past 3 laps, but that gap now down to 0.6 as they're on lap 16 now. Certainly not long to go, and Axel Paul has to make that move soon in order to keep that second place position as they come up this longest straight on the track up towards Hawthorne's, the incredibly fast corner, but certainly nowhere close enough to mount a challenge this time around.
But look at John Eckert. He could make a move past Frederick Palver. He just edges ahead. There he is on screen. John Eckert now past Frederick Palver. And it seemed to be probably a mistake from Palver. It happened at Druid's hairpin. And Eckert now, who takes a tighter line through this corner, I know, but in this stage it seemed to be Palver, the Frenchman, just made an unforced error, and John Eckert straight through, and that damaged McLaren MP4-12C, still finding a way to keep it on the tarmac to end this event. So good pass from him. Back to the battle between Ross Yost and Axel Paul. Here they are heading across the start-finish line. Lap 17 at 22 for this bunch. And through Paddock Hill Bend yet another time. Is there a move looming for Axel Paul?
Not this time round as they come through the hairpin now. It's definitely closer, isn't he? You can see that he's visibly closer now as they come through Graham Hill Bend. Oh, very, very interesting to see what happens in a big wiggle on the exit there.
Yeah, loss of traction for Axel Paul. Maybe just a bit right foot happy. Who knows if he needs to revisit the exit diff by the end of this event. We know there's so many setup options. Open setup is the McLaren Shadow Project on iRacing. It's not a fixed setup series. You do have to put your knowledge to the test and your experience to the test. And not just these cars, but in motor racing in general, in engineering. Now they head through the middle part of the lap. Again, yet another time. Jensen's begun the 18th lap, and they haven't even, not even close to Clark Curve, the final corner. Axel Paul's dropped off just a little bit through that middle sector.
It's fairly dirty, the gap that Jensen's got at the moment, isn't it? It's up over 30 seconds now as they start to come across the lane to begin their 18th lap into Paddock Hill. And Axel Paul seems to have, that gap seems to have stagnated at about half a second out or so as number 7 comes back out. That's Maynard Grift. He was actually in 4th place before this, which has put Joseph Ringrose back up into 4th place. But yes, coming out of Druids now, through Graham Hill. And again, with 5 laps to go, Axel Paul can't quite make that move yet.
They're riding on board with Axel now. Have a listen to him on the throttle through the next few corners. Comes through the Pilgrim's Drop, and let's have a listen to him through Hawthorns. Just seemed to dab the throttle a little bit, then once the front end started to bite, then you could start to floor it. So it's not exactly easy going for Axel Paul. He's touched the grass, I believe. I heard the grass there. Something went wrong for Axel Paul, otherwise he just got the line wrong.
Yes, just a little touch in the grass there, a little bit of a code brown there for Axel Paul going across the back end of the circuit. But yes, Hawthorns, as you said, understeer is your worst enemy there, so you just need to wait for that front to bite on the exit before you can really commit to the throttle. But you can see the cockpit view almost here of the driver currently in 3rd place. And he's certainly not close enough to make a move. 4 laps to go. In a couple of laps, we might see Paul starting to get a little bit desperate.
He's got Maynard Grift behind him, and Maynard could try to unlap himself, which I think would be completely unnecessary. Maynard's in the 9th position. Shouldn't affect this points battle. There's John Eckert now closing in on Joseph Ringrose. This could be round 2 with 4 to go, Neil.
It could be round 2 with 4 to go as they're about to come across the start finish line to begin their 4 to go, but you can see that gap at the moment not close enough to make a challenge, but never say never. Eckert though, he's getting so close right now. He's already gained about 4 seconds on Palver after Palver made that error here at the Druids hairpin. Here's Joseph Ringrose riding from the nose cam in that art car MP4-12C. Now through Graham Hill Bend, the ever difficult Graham Hill Bend. Don't want to run too wide. Want to use the grasscrete to your advantage. And then through the left-hander of Surtees, rising up the hill. Wow, very deep there is the driver of Joseph Ringrose in the number 3. That's going to allow Ecker to run here through the long straight, through Pilgrim's Drop, and then to Hawthorns. That's exactly what we saw the first time round when these two were battling as well. It seems that Ringrose starts to buckle a little bit under pressure. He seems to take wide lines. He seems to push a little bit too much, and you're seeing that again as they come through. Oh, look at that! Ringrose caught the grass on braking and entry, and that is it. Eckert's through. Yeah, Eckert, too easy for him. He's put the pressure on. I don't want to say there's been unforced errors by Palver and Ringrose. I think Eckert's really put that pressure on, but John Eckert essentially probably should be in the 2nd position in this race. I think he had the pace. Take all the spins and damage out of the equation, it's a different story. Let's go back to Axel Paul now. Axel Paul with 3 to go. There he is. So where's Maynard Grift gone? Maynard Grift's backed off. So Grift now has allowed the 2 to battle. That's fun
sportsmanlike driving from Maynard Griff just allows the two to fight for those final two podium positions, and some very important points here. Axel Paul through Sheen Curve and then through Sterling's is so close. Lots carrying an immense amount of speed through the apex of the corner. Then Clark Curve. The visibility, though, once he gets closer and closer, Neil, the visibility heading into Paddock Hill Bend will be limited, but he's lost a lot of time, so I guess he doesn't have to worry about that this time around.
These cars are very, very wide. It's almost like a shield in front of you if you get too close, and it's very, very difficult to see. It's two to go now for these two. Going up to Druids, and have a look at that. He sent it. Axel Paul absolutely sent it into Druids.
Still has another shot here on this next straight. He did send it very deep there. I was just getting concerned there. Very wide line by the driver ahead of Ross Yost. Oh, I like this battle so far. Each driver's offering something different each time. You know what it's going to produce. Meanwhile, while we watch these two, Marcus Jensen is that far ahead. He's about to cross the start-finish line. There he is on screen to begin the final lap of round one for the McLaren Shadow GT3 portion of the series. And he is all unscathed there in P1, driving very well in that Burst Esports car. Axel Paul, though, closer and closer, now through Sterling's for the second last time. Closer and closer, just cannot find a way past Ross Yost.
Cannot yet, but he's only going to have one more set of chances to do it, as we're riding on board with Paul at the moment, coming up towards Paddock Hill Bend now as they cross the start-finish line, braking hard, and then down the hill you can see the flames coming out of the exhaust of the car in front. Ross Yost, what's he do at Druids? Again, he's sent it a little bit, but not quite as hard as last time, as he come out of Druids and down the hill again towards Graham Hill. He's certainly closer this time round.
So while this continues, we'll keep one eye on that and have another eye on Marcus Jensen, who is coming towards the final corner at Clark Curve, and he will take a valiant victory for round one. Marcus Jensen is your winner for round one of the McLaren Shadow GT3 series. Brilliant victory at Brands Hatch from Marcus Jensen. Behind them, though, who will be your final two podium finishers? It looks like it's going to be Ross Yost and Axel Paul. But will it be in that order? They continue to battle away here through the middle part of the lap. Through Sterling's, the left-hander, for the final time. Axel Paul deep on the brakes. He's getting closer and closer by the second. It's going to be a drag race to the line if he gets this final corner at Clark Curve right. Put some pressure on Ross Yost, but it looks all unscathed there. Ross Yost will come home in second. Axel Paul to round out the podium. Brilliant event from those three. We'll have to wait an eternity behind for John Eckert. But Neil, what an event from Marcus Jensen. Unpressured, really, after the mistake from Jesper Jalika. And he took a well-predicted victory in just over half an hour.
Yes, an incredibly dominant performance there from Marcus Jensen. Just goes to show that what a talent he is. You said he was going to be turning 18 next month, didn't you?
Yeah, in October.
It just makes me, you know, I just wonder what I've done with my life. It just makes me wonder why I'm not that good at things. But as you're having a look, here's John Eckert coming across the line now to take that fourth place. And Joseph Ringrose rounds out the top five.
The John Eckert, damage limitation really, to come home in fourth. That's where he initially had his spin. But for Marcus Jensen, there he is on screen. No real celebrations for him. He knows this isn't the championship or anything else. It's a good victory for him nevertheless. He claims some good, well, a very good, strong haul of points for the Dane. Parks his car nice and cleanly. Just a slight bit of damage towards the rear end, but that's it. He's had quite a clean event nevertheless. Let's have a look at the final race results for round one of the McLaren Shadow GT3 qualifying series. Marcus Jensen, your winner for Burst Esport. an untouched victory. 39 seconds ahead of Ross Yost in the second position. Ross Yost and Axel Paul, we watched for most of the event, had a close fought battle pretty much for all 22 laps. Followed behind was John Eckert, who was off the podium. John Eckert involved in battles, drama, crashes, hit some barriers here and there, and still came home in the fourth position, just a second ahead of Joseph Ringrose in that art car, who rounds out your top five. Frederick Palver had a consistent race, still finished on the lead lap. He came home in sixth. Sabolis Prem ended up in seventh. Greg Waters in the eighth position. Maynard Grift, who made a pit stop as well, had to repair some damage, came home in the ninth position. Jesper Drelika in 10th, had that accident at turn one. He was Marcus Jensen's main competitor for most of this event. Was only a second or two behind when he made that mistake and could have potentially won this race had he piled on the pressure on Marcus. And 11th was Eldon Krauscher, who did not start this event. So Neil, again, brilliant event. Any other comments you have to say? Because this one out at Brands Hatch, tough fought track here as well. We know next round, of course, for round two of this championship, we head to Circuit Zolder, a different circuit in itself. And of course, that's only 1 week's time from now.
Yeah, just 1 week's time from now. But yes, today's race just goes to show that you don't necessarily need a big grid for fantastic racing.
And of course, we know this championship, Neil, it's with all the drivers returning next week, it's going to get more competitive, of course, and that challenge to head to Woking for January 2019 to qualify. That McLaren esports job is quite a significant opportunity for some of these young guns like Marcus Jensen.
Yes, quite a lucrative opportunity. And as you said, Zolder next week is a very, very different track to Brands Hatch. It's full of chicanes. It's full of chicanes and certainly not as flowing as Brands Hatch here. But yes, next Sunday will be round two of the McLaren Shadow Esports Series.
So that is it for round one from Brands Hatch. The next race, as Neil said, will be on the 18th of September. That's just in 1 week's time. Not the 18th of September, sorry. Yeah, it will be on
23rd.
23rd, excuse me. I'm looking at a different date here. 23rd of September, that's in 1 week's time. 20 laps around Circuit Zolder. I can guarantee you that information is correct on my sheet here, which hosts round two of the McLaren Shadow GT3 qualifying series. That will be on your beloved RaceSpot TV. Stream live on the iRacing Esports Network. Thank you to all you viewers for joining us for today's broadcast. As you saw on screen, I'm Jonathan Simone alongside Neil Heatley, Hugo Luis in production, Is Van Bello, Andreas Werner, Simon Grossman, Nick Thiessen. Give your round of applause for those fellas for giving us all the production behind the scenes, because this has been a RaceSpot TV presentation broadcasted on the iRacing Esports Network. We say so long from Brands Hatch. We'll see you at Zolder in a week's time.